Okay, good morning, everyone. It is 8:30, so I'm going to call to order this meeting of the Land Use and Transportation Committee. Looking at the roll call, all members are present. Thank you all. It's good to see you. And our first item of business is the consent agenda. 2A, the minutes from the Land Use and Transportation September 2nd, 2025 regular meeting, and B, payment of bills and transfers. May I get a motion on the floor? Motion by Member Reeves, second by Member Abel. Any questions or concerns? All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, those pass unanimously. Number 3, we have appearances by members of the public and county employees. Do we have anyone? Ms. Taylor.
We've had no requests this morning. Thank you, Chair Klein.
Thank you so much. And we'll move on to item number 4, and this is a Connect Go update from our friends over at Connect Transit. Do you have a microphone over there for you? Okay.
I would like to introduce David Braun. He's the director of Connect Transit, which also supports our Connect Go program for rural transportation. Thank you for coming, David.
And thank you for having me. This is exciting for us as well. We took over the program in July, as you know, to start performing rural transportation in addition to the urban transportation that we've been providing for over 100 years. And we're really excited to roll out this program. So we started very, very slowly. And if you want to go to the next slide, please. Thank you. This is the level of service that we're providing. We're providing a door-to-door service, so people need to call in by 12 noon the day before to schedule a trip. And that allows us to kind of understand what the demand is going to be for the next day. Hours of service right now are Monday through Friday, 8 to 5. And the reservations can be made up to 5 days in advance. So if somebody knows that they have a doctor's appointment or something, they can schedule it. They don't have to wait a day before. We're not currently providing subscription service, meaning that they can't assign a trip every single day, but that's definitely something that we're looking at. And we currently don't have any same-day bookings. Again, we wanted to kind of roll this out very slowly because we wanted to understand what the demand might be, what people were interested in doing, and then roll out a more comprehensive program in the near future. Next slide, please. So you can see our ridership is really all over the place. And what we found is that it's very much a matter of, a lot of it is weather. So when the weather is very hot, people don't travel. If it's rainy, people don't travel. So I think what we're finding is a lot of discretionary riders, people that if they don't need to travel, they choose not to. Obviously, we have a lot of medical appointments and also shopping, so we do a lot of that work as well. Next slide, please. You can see every month has been a little bit more. July was the biggest. That was our rollout month. But we already have about 404 passengers that we've carried so far. And you can see on the bottom screen, and it might be a little hard to read, but you can see where everyone is coming from. So by far our largest town that we're providing service to is I know what it is. It's Lexington, followed by Leroy. What that does, that also kind of tells us something is as we start developing the service, we can look at some sort of different levels of service for those particular towns. So whether or not that be a fixed route that runs on a regularly scheduled basis, whether that's an on-demand service like our flex service in Southwest Bloomington, those are things that we can look at, knowing that we don't have to serve the entire area, but we have the capacity to run that service in that area. One thing that we're considering now is a fare implementation. And we had not, or McLean County had not charged a fare since COVID. So 2020 is when the fare stopped. We continued the service as a no fare, really to avoid disruption in service. We wanted people who were using it to still have that same level of service that they had before. What's interesting about the fare and the way that the state reimburses us for operating is that they reimburse us 65% for operating. That means that we need a local share of 35%. The local share right now is made up by the Federal Transit Administration's 5311 grant. So we do have local share from the feds. Even though it's not local, it's federal. But if we collect a fare, for every dollar fare, we can draw down $1.86 from the state. So we have about 1.3 million that we can actually draw down from the state. Right now, we're drawing down a little less than 700,000 because of that local share issue. So as we are able to gain local share in that dollar, we can reinvest those dollars back into the service at a much higher rate. So for every dollar we raise in fare, we can put $2.86 in value back into the system. I want to make it very clear too, is that the rural dollars that we are able to get stay with the rural system. It's very strict at the state level that the grants that we have, the 5311 grant from the feds, and then the state's reimbursement is for the rural system. It does not go into the urban system. And then as just logic says, that more income means that we can expand service hours. Next slide, please. So when we looked at the fare analysis, there's really, like most government, there isn't a lot of economics in how we charge for our services. So we looked at adjacent counties to see what they were doing, and you can see how each one is a little different. Most of them are one-way trips. In the past, McLean County has been a round trip, and that was a round trip for $5 or $7 out of county trips. That in comparison is our Connect Transit and Connect Mobility is $1.25. So we wanted to kind of recognize that we will be serving other counties. We're not exactly sure what that coordination will look like, but we didn't want it to be significantly different than what we were charging pre-COVID, or what McLean County was charging pre-COVID. But we also wanted to recognize some factors that when you charge a fare, there's also a value to the service. So people value it differently, people see it differently. I don't think that we'll have the trip denials and things like that when we start charging a fare. And if we start charging a fare, or when we start charging a fare, we can also look for contracts. So we can contract with either businesses, medical providers, that without the fare, there's no incentive for them to contract with us. They just, they think that we're great. But once we start charging a fare, we can actually get some additional revenues besides just the revenue gained from our riders. Next slide, please. So one of the main things is that whatever is decided for a fare we're required to get IDOT concurrence. So we need to give them a 90-day review period. We need to fill out some forms and ensure that the fare that we're charging is fair. It's equitable to the surrounding community. So what we would like to do is mimic the Champaign County fare structure. So in Champaign County, 12 and under gets charged $1 a one-way. 13 to 65 is $4 one way. And then 65 plus is $2.50. Now we kept the $2.50 and the $3.50 one way to mimic what was done before. So in rural McLean County, previously it was a $5 round trip. So $2.50 one way is $5 round trip. Many of our riders are 65 plus, so we didn't want to impact our current ridership base. We do want to start attracting some more people, and then allowing people 12 and under to ride would also allow families to ride. So if they're going down to the farmer's market, if they're going to the children's museum, if they're going, they're trying to participate in the community, they can do that for less than, what it would cost for each person to pay $4 individually. So we really try to think this through. How will people be using the service? Now, $4 is obviously, or $8 round trip, is significantly less than a taxi or an Uber or that sort of thing. But we do have some costs too. 75% of our cost is labor. As we get out into the county, our fuel costs increase and things like that. So there are costs. But again, the primary driver of this is being allowed to expand some service. So what we're looking at for expanding service is either the service hours, so make it more attractive for people who are using the service for work. meaning that we would probably have to start service earlier in the morning, around 6 a.m., to get people to where they need to go for work. And then also later in the evening to allow people to either participate in after-school activities for Normal West, Normal Community, that allows them to get back home after school when the school buses aren't running. It allows people to stay at work longer. It allows people to go out to dinner and participate in the community a little more. So those are all the types of things that we think could be done if we expand the service hours just during the day. Depending on how much revenue we are able to collect, we can also start looking at Saturday service, allowing people to participate again over the weekend when maybe they might be facing some social isolation over the weekend. We do have a roadmap for service improvements just that are already planned. We're going to continue our outreach efforts, and Brandon can talk a little bit about a survey that we'll be conducting soon. We're working on service coordination. So as you know, ShowBus was a multi-county service, and that did not require coordination between the counties because one operator was serving it all. Well, now multiple operators are serving it. So Brandon, our rural coordinator, is actually working with the other counties to coordinate that service, what that looks like, whether we do a drop-off or whether we provide the service all the way into a county and then they provide the service back to McLean County. We're looking at a new scheduling system that's actually going to roll out next week. And that's going to allow people to self-book, that's going to allow people to cancel their own rides. And also, similar to like the Uber app, it'll allow people to see where their bus is, where their vehicle is on its way to travel. And that's something that we're rolling out for our regular urban system as well as the rural system. By early spring, we hope to have an end-to-end trip planner. So somebody would be able to book on the rural system and figure out where to go on the urban system to get to the final destination. We're not pushing people in that direction. If people are comfortable doing that, they can do that. But we also want to expand the opportunities to allow people to do that. And then we're rolling out a new fare collection system in summer. Now, the fare collection system should be a game changer for the urban system for sure. It'll make it a lot easier to ride the rural system as well. And it's going to be a tap-on system, not a tap-off. Where they can use a pass, they can use a credit card, they can use a Apple Watch, whatever they have in their pocket, they'll be able to tap onto the system and ride. So that's going to be a huge upgrade for us, and it's going to be a significant difference in the rural area too. Just to allow people to understand a little better what it costs to ride, and then how to actually pay that fare. It'll be a lot easier. So I'm going to pass it off to Brandon just to talk about a little bit about the survey, and then I want to talk about some legislations coming up. So survey.
Yeah. Good morning, everybody.
Hit the button. That one. Yep.
Perfect. Okay. Perfect. Good morning. Yeah. So the survey is it'll essentially be a survey for both riders and potential riders for everybody. And the goal here is to collect as much data as possible to help us make the decisions David is talking about, weekend service, late night service. It'll have questions regarding, areas of interest, time of day they need it, things we could do that would attract them to the service. And we hope to distribute it both digitally and a physical copy at areas within each town in McLean County, so public libraries, grocery stores, places we already have some advertisements. But yeah, essentially it's just an effort to collect as much data as possible so we can adjust the service to meet the needs of everybody in the community. Any questions on that? All right.
If I can, next slide, please. One last thing I wanted to mention is that at the state level, they are talking about some state funding changes. And those funding changes would be a significant game changer for us. It would be a 15 to 20 year change for us. Right now, as I mentioned, the state reimburses our operating 65%. They're looking at changing that to 75% for urban and then 80% for rural. So that means that for every, well, I guess I didn't do the math, but we would only have to have a 20% local share instead of a 35% local share. That allows our dollars to go much further. So if you look at just that little chart down below, you can see the rural impact changing nothing else, exactly the way the service is run today, our budget and everything. It's about $121,000 additional revenue that we would get from the state, meaning about 674 hours of service. 674 hours equates to running either 13 hours, few extra hours every day, or 13 hours on a weekend. So that could be separated on one full day. It can be separated over a period of time. So it's a huge change for us. The sticking point is that it's tied to a bill for the Northwest or Northeast region, so the RTA district in Chicago. The state needs its downstate legislators to support that change, but with that would come a huge benefit to us too. So as you're talking to your representatives, just like we're talking to the representatives of McLean County, we certainly encourage you to kind of raise this as a positive. I don't know that everyone will support it, but what we're really looking for is that people understand at least that if it does pass, there will be a true benefit. And that concludes my presentation.
Does anyone have any questions? Mr. Fagan.
Yes, thank you. I have a question concerning the 12 and under, or minors in general. You mentioned like returning home from school and things like that. Would there be any requirements, like an age that would need to be escorted or solo rides?
Yeah, so it's 12 and under with an adult. 13 and over are allowed to ride for free. On our urban system right now, it's 11 and under require an adult, and 11 over can ride on the urban system. So we are changing a little bit for the rural, but the focus has been, Unit 5 has expressed some concern that a lot of kids can't participate in after-school activities because they have no way to get home afterwards because the school buses stop running. So we're looking to solve an issue there as well.
I just wanted to get my mind around this legislation issue. So if this legislation were to pass, how would that impact the fares? Because the discussion about the fares was in order to expand the amount of service hours and into the weekend. So if we also get this additional $121,000 kind of boost to the budget, does that then reduce the amount of fares we need to, I mean, we're kind of getting money from two different places to fund the same thing, in other words. So how does that work? Do we get to reduce the fares, or do we just expand?
That would be a decision of the board, obviously, but I would support either growing the system, allowing people to travel either later at night or weekends, rather than reducing the fare. So expand the opportunity rather than reducing the fare. But again, that would be something that the board would have to decide. And I would bring that to the board at the time.
Yeah, I think, I mean, because the point of adding the fares is to be able to extend the amount of time and the services, but if we also get the additional financial incentive from the state, then we're kind of doubling the income. So I would, I think that's something to think about, is that in this day and age, a reduction in fares, at least so long as this exists, would be a real benefit.
Our legislators have expressed, though, that they do want to see the community also have skin in the game. So
100%.
They don't want, they don't want it just to be.
I'm not saying no fares. I'm not saying
Okay.
no fares, and I understand the financial kind of benefit of creating relationships and the value on the service, but I think this day and age, any kind of deliberate act of reduction in cost is appreciated.
Understood.
Thank you. Anybody else have any other questions? Thank you for your time and coming to talk to us. Okay, we'll move on to item number 5, departmental matters. We have Phil Dick with Building and Zoning with nothing. Phil, do you have anything you'd like to say?
Just for your information, at the zoning board hearing tonight, we do have a text amendment that was brought forth by this committee regarding data centers and extensions for special use permits. We have other items on the agenda too, but it's this evening starting at 7 p.m.
Thank you so much. Does anyone have any questions for Mr. Dick? Thank you, Phil, for being here. So we'll move on to B, Jerry Stokes, highway engineer, and also nothing but updates, right?
Yeah, it's like a first. I don't think we've had any actual action items under. So, the first project is the Tawanda Gridley Road. I don't have any picture of that one because we're not quite done with it yet, but the contractor does have all the hot mix in place, and we'll be putting the aggregate shoulders down next week, and we're hopefully get it striped here in the next week or so. And then I think all that's left is reflectors and then some safety rumble strips there at the curves north of Tawanda. So that project's almost wrapped up for the year. The next project is the Route 66 trail. Haven't really talked a whole lot about that here in committee, but I do have some pictures of that. They probably have about 3 miles of it paved, and then the remaining part that they need to pave is kind of going in towards McLean and in the town of McLean. They're working on some concrete work there for sidewalk ramps and driveways and that, and finishing up some of the earthwork there. So they do have some aggregate down. They need to finish putting the aggregate down on that final stretch, but I can run through some pictures here. This is kind of at the north end where we tied into the existing trail. And this is kind of looking south there at where our project starts. And so they've just paved. This is the surface that's on here, so this is all done. This was taken a couple weeks ago. The earthwork contractors actually came in here and kind of dressed all this up and reshaped everything to the new trail. So just kind of some more pictures here of the trail going along. And this is kind of where it starts to cross over. This is where we're having a parking lot area for vehicles. And then this is where the trail will cross the road at of Route 66. And then so the trail moves into the west side of 66, kind of along the pavement. And so these are just some pictures here of the hot mix they've placed there along 66. And this is the day they were actually putting the surface down. So like I said, they have about 3 miles complete. And so they're moving along. So probably another few weeks on that project, and should be in fairly good shape. So any questions there?
Member Fagan.
Yeah, due to the proximity to the actual road, will there be any sort of barrier?
There will not, no.
Okay, thank you.
So moving on to some township bridge projects that we're doing for repair projects. Whoa. Yeah. What happened there? So this is a sheet pile repair project where we're going in, putting the sheet pile in to replace the wooden abutments that were there. And so you can see this is the hammer that's driving the sheet piles. And so they drove them in so far, and then they, depending on, there's like 40-foot sheets these are, and we needed to get close to like 35 feet. And so most areas we got that, not all the areas, just because we started hitting some really hard soils down there below. But you kind of see this is a crane and the hammer on the crane, and then they drive them down as far as they go. I'm going to back up here. And then what we do then is we cut them down. So these 4 or 5 here are cut down to the elevation that we need to the height, and then they will pour concrete on top of this, as we'll see. But so this turned out really good. I mean, it was a good thing for this bridge that because you can kind of see the wooden abutments here that were starting to rot, and so then it was losing material behind the abutments, and the road was starting to settle. So this will take care of that. And you can kind of see the wooden abutments here, and some of you can see the soil starting to erode around there as well. So then after we got everything driven. You can see everything's driven, cut to length. There is a pile cap that's put on here on the sides, and then we put riprap all the way around to help with any future erosion that went on. So this is kind of a little going backwards a little bit, but this is a picture of forming up the abutments and the rebar there for about 2 to 3 foot off the edge of the deck. And so then they'll pour the concrete over the piles. So you kind of can see the piles in here with the reinforcement around there. And so then they came in and poured concrete to match everything back up. And then it's another picture of the abutments. And so, so this is kind of, these are, so we got this opened up on Friday, I think, Friday or Saturday. So these are kind of the finalized pictures of everything here with the riprap in place. And so this is kind of looking south. And so just pictures of the ditch and the riprap that went around there to help protect everything. Here, this we had a wall that kind of went straight out, so this was we just put dirt behind there, and so this is we're gonna so on the roadway side we're gonna leave it gravel until just let everything settle out. So leave it gravel till next year, and then the road commission will come in and oil and chip the road up to the bridge. So, any questions on this particular project? And then the next project we just started yesterday in Yates Township. Same similar type of thing that we're doing there. We had wooden abutments. The sheets aren't quite as long. They're only like 20 foot because it's a smaller depth bridge. But we don't have the wings either on that particular bridge. So it'll just be straight across sheet piling, and we'll put riprap and that type of thing in there. And so that project ought to be done in probably 3 to 4 weeks as well.
Does anyone have any questions about any of these projects? Thank you, Jerry. We're going to have more for you later in budget time, I think.
That sounds good.
Anything else before we move on?
No, I didn't know if the committee is aware of the local funding grant that we received for the Route 66 trail. That kind of replaces the RAISE grant that was pulled. So this is a state grant locally funded that will include phase 1 and phase 2 from Towanda going towards Chenoa. So that'll be a good project that we'll be working on here in the next few years probably.
Where did that come from, the source of that?
The IDOT solicited for, they had $400 million that they were given to local agencies. And we put in for 5 projects, a couple highway projects, and then a couple projects related to Route 66. And so we did get
So that
selected.
replaces the $675,000 that was lost
Yes.
in full.
Yeah, actually more. The total grant was for 1.9 million. So that actually, and it covers phase 1 and phase 2. So it'll cover all the design for the rest of the corridor.
Okay, so the state was able to step in where the feds backed out.
Yes.
Awesome. Thank you. Anyone have any questions? Good news all around. All right, thank you so much. We'll move on to Mr. Lai with the Regional Planning, who is here with an update about the second draft of the Strategic Land Use Plan.
Good morning. Thank you so much for the opportunity. Anthony Baumann of our staff is going to give a brief update on that revised draft or second draft of the Strategic Land Use Plan. And then under 2B, others, I'm going to give a really brief highlight of 2 other transportation projects that we've been working on. So Anthony, you want to go to?
Good morning, everybody. As you may have heard, the second draft of the Strategic Land Use Plan is out. That went out for public review on September 22nd. The notification of the release was sent to all the local news agencies with a press release and over 2,000 subscribers to the MCRPC Constant Contact list, as well as township supervisors, road commissioners, the McLean County Mayor's Association, Farm Bureau, city, town, and county employees. We are scheduling 2 additional open houses in October. One on October 14th from 5 to 7 at the Downs Community Fire Department, and one on October 16th from 5 to 7 as well at Heartland Community College. So one in Normal, one in Downs. The last day to submit comments for this second draft review is going to be October 22nd. After that, all those comments will be collected, and then we'll do one final update of the draft plan for a finalized draft for official review and adoption once that section comes. We're looking at right around October 31st, Halloween, maybe the Monday after, for that final draft to be complete. Other than that, if you have any other questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
If administration could send an email with those 2 dates to the board members, that would be great.
Yeah, I
The
think we have
14th
the
and,
flyers.
what was the other one?
16th, it's on the
16th.
flyer, so I'm not sure
Yeah,
if they received the flyer that we put out, but it is
Some
on
of
there.
us might need to be reminded of this. Anyone have any questions? Member Fagan?
Yeah, just curiously, what's the response been since it's been released?
So far, it's been very quiet. So there hasn't been a lot of conversation around it at all. We are keeping an eye on like social media and the same public comment response forum we have. So far, there has not been a whole lot of movement. There's been a few people that have seen it, a couple comments of, this looks great, the revisions look good, and also, this isn't enough, we want more. So, but as of right now, there's really not much to go off of, which maybe is a good thing. Maybe people saw it and are content, and a lot of times we get more of the comments when the people are passionate and upset about something than when they're a little bit more content with what they're seeing. So we will see.
Thank you. Is anyone else? Member Duffy?
Yeah, I was just wondering, how have you, especially the one in Downs, I know you said the fire department there, how have you guys been kind of getting those town halls out there?
So I was in contact with some of the governmental members of Downs to get some information. We've also had some confusion with the county strategic plan. So we wanted to make sure we were getting the clarification out, especially, in Downs, that the county's doing a plan, that's the strategic plan, and MCRPC is doing the strategic land use plan, and those are different. But I know that they've posted some information on their Facebook page. We have some information posted, as well as all of the rural libraries in McLean County have paper documents of all of this update, as well as our email list. So all those dates were on those flyers we sent out in the initial push out of everything.
I appreciate that. I have also seen some conflation between the strategic land use plan that you all are creating and the county's strategic plan. And they are 2 entirely different processes. So in case there's any confusion. Okay, we'll hear from you again. Mr. Lai, do you want to move on to some others?
Yeah, if I may, really quick. One project is called the Go Save McLean County Action Plan Update. This is the document, but I believe you all have received an electronic version, thanks to the administration for distributing that. And this is an update to the 2021 plan that was funded by IDOT. But this one, the 2025 updated plan, is funded by the federal grant along with other local contributions, including the county and IDOT. And this was adopted September 24th by the Regional Planning Commission. And what we have done is to get all get the adoption date, and then we want to share this with our committee members and different local partners. And what we plan to do is to continue the implementation of the plan. And this electronic version is also available on our website if you have constituencies interested in getting a copy of the adopted plan. And the goal really is to promote transportation safety to the point of goal with zero death and also zero serious injuries, and that's the goal. And with, depending on the interest of the committee or the county board, we'll be happy to give a presentation more in full sometime. And we appreciate also there's a project steering committee that's made up of our local partners and stakeholders, and including the county highway department with Jerry and others too. So just an update on this. So we'll defer to the committee or the county board if you would like a more detailed presentation by staff. And yeah.
So you all can let me know, out of the meeting, if this is something you'd like to have. I'm happy to entertain that.
Yeah. All right. And then the second project is a Veterans Parkway Corridor Plan. If you recall, we gave a presentation back in February of this year about this project that's also federally funded, but also with local contributions and IDOT contributions. This plan would, when completed, supposed to envision and reinvent this 84-year-old Veterans Parkway to make it safer, multimodal. It's not just auto-oriented, and also make it more sustainable. This planning process is supposed to be a 2-year process, and we're in the middle of it. So it's due to be completed by September of 2026. We have scheduled, along with the consultant who's helping us, for 2 public open houses in early November, and we'll have the flyers and promotions started soon, and then we'll definitely again be sharing with the administration, and they can distribute for us the flyers for the 2 public open houses. And so, yeah, just there was public engagement. It was done late last year, so this is kind of as the process goes along. This is the second phase of the public engagement. There's been a lot of analysis done, alternative designs being looked at, and so just the consultants want to get input from the public as well as the business community and everybody else.
Questions? Member Reeves?
Ray, in reviewing that Project Zero thing, well, that's a lofty goal, and I don't think there's anybody that's against it. When you look through there, you have 250 respondents of a roughly 170,000 population. Why can't we get any more respondents? And not only for that, I think also for the veterans' sake, because everybody I talk to doesn't necessarily agree with what was proposed in that plan. A, they didn't know about it. That's why I'm telling them. But what do we got to do to get more people involved? Because 250, that's not even of statistical relevance.
Yeah, we wish we had more responses. Our observation is, we have given flyers in township supervisors meetings and the township roadway commissioners meetings. We have done the press release. It's not as, from our perspective, it's not maybe as controversial. It doesn't hit home as much. And so people, as you saw the strategic land use plan, we got more responses. Sometimes it's just people, it's not as safety, it's not hitting home as much unless they have some situation, related to family, friends, something that happened to them. So, yeah, but the plan, while it's done, like you said, is safety. Nobody can deny it. But we will be forming what we call the Go Safe task force, and then we'll start with the local partners, from the county, city, town, starting small and then evolving more to really implement the plan to make our through education and public messaging and through others. So yeah, we wish we have more responses, but and judging from housing, we did a housing survey a year and a half or so ago. There were a lot more responses. I think it's just the subject matter, that may be, and people may be fatigued. There's so many. It's not just the county, not just our projects. I know the town and the city. They have done a lot of different surveys and other social groups too in our community. So it's not surprised. We kept pushing. We went to public events, the county fair and others, and we trying to get the flyers out, get people interested. But we can only do the best we can. But it's the community, then they have a lot of different surveys and things like that. So, but I think the result, it gives us a good measurement, but we also don't rely just on survey results. We rely a lot of data from IDOT, from the area. And so we don't just rely on surveys to create a plan. And that's why what we also like the strategic land use plan, we value the public input, but it cannot be just everything is public input. Otherwise, we don't have to, there'll be easy job for us, right? I mean, we do the survey and then just tabulate the results. But there's some other technical analysis. The consultants help us and analyze the data. So yeah, we'll ask for your help to make our area safer in the implementation phase.
Member Seaborth.
Thank you, Ray. I think you mentioned, if I understood correctly, there was a plan in 2021 as well.
Correct. Yeah.
And maybe this is for a follow-up conversation if we bring them back for kind of a deeper dive into it, but just curious what the outcomes were of that plan in regards to safety. What's changing from that plan to this new plan? And then maybe my follow-up question as well, or a separate question, is our local law enforcement community involved as stakeholders in this planning? I assume they would play a huge role or a significant role in enforcement of impaired driving, distracted driving policies in our county.
Yeah, in terms of the enforcement, I believe the consultant have like focus groups that they talk on more or less smaller group or one-on-one. I believe the enforcement was one of the groups that they spoke with. And then in terms of the 2021 plan, as you recall, I mean, it's during COVID. And so, but we got a grant, so we had to go with it. So given that constraint, and between the 2021 and the 2025 plan, a lot of data, it's been updated using more recent data, of course. And also under the 2021 plan, because it was a IDOT funded project, it's more open, in terms of the requirements that need to be included. But then the 2025 plan is funded by the federal government and under SS4A, the Safe Street and Roads for All program. So they have more specific guidelines and criteria for us to meet, such as the underserved community, such as the policy assessment, and then the 2025 plan has broken up into the rural area, they call it the highway injury network for the rural part and the urban part. So you find, if you compare, and the 2021 plan also is on our website, but yeah, it's a lot more substance, because now we are able to do more public engagement, because 2021, we could only do virtual meetings, and we had 2 or 3 virtual meetings, because it's during COVID, and so we had a project steering committee, we had a group of subject matter experts, we had consultants to help us in the 2021 plan as well. So we've been doing a lot of public messaging. We actually, last few years, we went to different public events to promote safety, got sweats, got the kids. In fact, 2 weekends ago, day of play in Normal. There was many kids. I don't know if any of you were there. We we gave out many swags because the kids were interested in safety, not just the swags. And we've been to county fairs last few years. Been to some farmer markets in the rural area. And we're trying to promote the messaging. It takes time. But we need your help too. We cannot do it on our own. But we with whatever resources that we have, and we keep also looking for grant opportunities, such as some videos. We actually have those made due to IDA grant also, yeah.
Anything else for Mr. Lai? You've been busy. Thank you.
We, but do our best.
Okay. All right, so for the meat of the day, it is budget time. So we'll move on to Cassie Taylor, and the first item is D1A, request approval of fiscal year 2026 recommended budget for the Department of Building and Zoning, 0038. May I get a motion to put this on the floor? Member Reeves, second by Member Abel. Okay, Mr. Dick?
Actually, I'm going
Or
to.
you're gonna do the
I
presentations?
will be
Okay.
doing the presentation for the first part, and then I will ask Mr. Dick as well as Mr. Stokes to jump in for part of their presentation or any questions you might have specific to their budgets. So moving right along to the next slide, for the Building and Zoning Department, for those of you who may be new to the committee or those that may be listening online, the McLean County Department of Building and Zoning is responsible for regulating construction activities in the unincorporated areas of McLean County. This department is responsible for and also regulates construction and use through zoning, flood hazard, and subdivision regulations. You can see there on the pie chart on the right, the total budget for this department equals $405,415, which is a slight increase from the previous year, only 2%. 71% of this budget is salary and fringe, which has a 3.3% increase over last year. Moving on to the next slide. For revenues are projected to remain essentially the same as the 2025 amount, and expenses, like we covered in the previous slide, have increased 2%. That is it for building and zoning. I'm happy to answer any specific questions you have from your packet.
Anyone have any questions for Minister Taylor or Mr. Dick? You do a lot with not enough.
Attaboy, Phil.
Yeah. Okay, seeing no questions, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? That passes unanimously. We'll move on to the next item, request approval of fiscal year 2026 recommended budget for the Solid Waste Management Fund, 0159. May I get a motion to put this on the floor? A motion by Member Duffy, second by Member Fagan.
Thank you, Chair Klein. So 0159 is our waste management fund. This provides funding to our Ecology Action Center. The central mission of the Ecology Action Center is listed there on the slide. It is to inspire and assist our community in creating, strengthening, and preserving a healthy environment. And it acts as our central resource for environmental education, information, outreach, and technical assistance with some grants in McLean County. There is an increase to the budget for 2020 from 2025 to 2026 due to increases for employees and fringe benefits. That is per our solid waste agreement, which is under contract. So the total fund expenses for this fund are $38,250, and the fund increased by 3%, which is $1,153 over the last year, and that is per the contract.
Does anyone have any questions? I don't know if anyone made it out to the solid waste, the hazardous waste disposal this weekend. It's a good display of the work that they're doing. Lots of incandescent bulbs and old paint and gas canisters were rid of this weekend. Okay, seeing none, all those in favor, please say aye. Opposed? Okay, that passes unanimously. Now we'll move on to request approval of the Highway Department 0055 fiscal year 2026 budget, including C1 Highway Fund 0120, C2 Bridge Matching Fund 0121, C3 County Matching Fund 0122, and C4 the Motor Fuel Tax Fund. May I get a motion to put this on the floor? Motion by Member Reeves, second by Member Zebarth.
Thank you, Chair Klein. So this one is a little bit lengthier, and Jerry and I are going to do this together. So you've listed out the 4 funds that the Highway Department uses to conduct all of the work under its purview. For an overview, the pie chart here will show that the 2026 expenses for all funds is $20,579,489. Capital assets account for $13,897,383, which is 67% of the total budget. For FTE changes, we are requesting changes to salary grades for project manager positions that will align with market rate. We are also asking to add an engineering tech 1 and 2. But overall, the number of employees will not change. This is allowing more flexibility in hiring and also the opportunity for growth and professional development within the department. So as they have someone leaving that maybe has more skills and more experience, we would be able to hire in to fill that FTE at a lower grade position and then allow that person to grow and learn and hopefully stay within McLean County. So it gives Jerry, Luke, and their team a lot more flexibility in hiring to hopefully meet the needs of the market. And then moving on to Highway Fund 0120, this is where I turn it over to Jerry and he can tell you all the details.
Thank you. So I'll kind of go through this fairly quick, but I'll kind of dive into some of the nuts and bolts a little bit of our 4 funds. So the Highway Fund is our main general operating fund that we use. And the revenue comes from property tax, but also comes to other things that we do, such as commodities that we sell to townships and municipalities, such as culverts, salt, signs, and posts that we keep on hand, and a lot of the townships come in and purchase that stuff from us. And then we also provide engineering services to the townships through their motor fuel tax, and so their motor fuel tax fund pays us for setting up their motor fuel tax programs and their oil and chip programs. We also receive money back from the motor fuel tax fund for equipment rental that's used for snow plowing and mowing and painting and things like that. So we set up like $500,000 per year to come back from the motor fuel tax fund into the highway fund. And then the remaining is basically permit fees and fund balance on that particular fund. So the revenue compared to 25 and 26 is a $340,000 increase, which is a 2% increase from the previous year. And so you can see the rates there and the maxed out tax rate. This is the 500 line items for salaries and for health insurance rates. There is a 4% increase from the previous year, which includes the increases of the union and non-union staff. And so the the FTEs is pretty close, 24.53 versus 24.77 for 2026. And more on the expenses for the supply side, we decreased that down 4%. And then on the services side was for the 700 line items was decreased around 1%. And that's the 700 line items is for engineering and design projects and for advertisements for lettings and job postings, equipment rental, and also includes some of our contract services and software license agreements that we have. So overall, on the 700 line items, that's also our maintenance line item, but we did increase that a little bit just based on planning for additional material costs for culverts and aggregates and things like that as we move forward in 2026. And so then also our highway capital assets also increased by 2%. This includes our equipment purchasing, but also includes, we're looking, we have underground storage tanks that we need to upgrade with new sump lines in there to prevent any damage. So we're looking at two different things there, whether just to put the sump lines in and accommodate what the requirement is, but from the fire marshal, or look at fully replacing our tanks altogether. The tanks were originally put in 50 years ago when the department was built. So I think they're single wall tanks, so we might be looking at doing double wall tanks. So we're kind of looking at all that type of stuff now. I don't really, it's going to take a lot of, effort to dive into some of this type of work that we don't usually normally do. So, but that's something that's coming here in 26 or 27. I think the requirement by the fire marshal is 2028. So, and so this includes some of our, like I said, I mentioned our equipment and some of our highway projects. And so this is a couple pieces of equipment that we're looking at purchasing. We do have, so we're looking at, we call it a follow truck, but it's that follows our paint truck, or if we're doing maintenance work out on Tawana Barnes, we use it a lot of times, but it's an attenuator truck. And so we're looking at replacing ours. Ours, I don't even know the year of it. It's, I think, like a 2008. It's one of our older vehicles, and we're starting to see problems with the actual attenuator that's on the backside of that one. And so we're looking at a couple tandems, and then I think our high hose due for replacement. And then we're also looking at our a mini excavator to kind of help go along with our skid loader that we use quite a bit on projects. So so that kind of covers the highway fund in a nutshell. I don't know if you want any questions on that particular fund, or you want to move on to the rest of the funds.
Anyone want to stop there and ask questions?
Okay.
Onward.
So the next fund is the bridge matching fund. And so this is basically funds county bridges and culverts, and typically like 50% of the township joint culverts. So the revenue comes from the property tax, and the remaining revenue comes from the townships for bridge and culvert projects that we do. And so there is about a $270,000 increase in the revenue here, and the remaining revenue. So it's a 12% increase on the property tax side, but our overall revenue is increased by 5%, and that's basically just based on we used to fund township bridge projects out of this as well, but since the state basically quadrupled the amount of township bridge money that we receive, we are able to pay the consulting engineers and the construction of those projects directly from the TBP fund. So then that doesn't flow through our county budget. Sometimes we still have to, when we invoice those on TBP funds, it's around for like 90%. And so sometimes we might have to front like the remaining 10%, but then we end up getting reimbursed for that after the project's complete, basically from the TBP fund. So basically the TBP fund funds everything at 100% at this point. So kind of some of on the expense side, a lot of it for engineering for future projects that we have coming up. Seems like it takes about 2 years for these projects to get designed for whatever reason. Just by the time we get through the environmental process and then it goes through the design process, it just always seems like it takes a couple years when it's all said and done. And so then, and then also the construction of the bridges and the culverts and that. And so there was a little bit of a labor cost with this fund as well. The FTEs in 2025 was 3.58 and is planned for 3.8 in 2026. So it's just kind of moving some of the allotments around, thinking we were going to have a fair amount of bridge work done next year, hopefully. So that's really takes care of the bridge fund. The next fund is the county matching fund. And so this can only be used to match federal projects and motor fuel tax projects. So it can only be used for basically construction, engineering, and right-of-way. So the majority of it gets used for construction. We usually use it to match on the federal projects. It's usually an 80-20%. So we use the matching fund for our 20% match on the federal projects most of the time, and then also use it on the MFT projects as needed. So there is an increase here of about $170,000. It's an 8% increase in the tax revenue, but basically the overall budget stayed the same, just based on the fund balance that we had. And so, like I had mentioned, we're looking at a $2.4 million basically to spend on the construction of the roadways on these projects here in 2026. And then our motor fuel tax fund then is used basically for maintenance, engineering, and construction as well. And so there's a fairly big increase from 2025, about a 19% increase, mainly because we're doing a fairly large project that we have planned here in 2026 that we didn't do. We used the MFT expenditures in 2025, but just not as big of projects as we had. So we're looking at the total for is like $7.5 million out of the motor fuel tax fund, and I think $5 million of that is going to one particular project on the Hudson West project. So basically the motor fuel tax comes from our allotments each month. And so there's the existing MFT formula that was the original 19 cents. And then in 2019, they they made a new transportation renewal fund, which with an additional 19 cents. And that's also tied to the Consumer Price Index. And so, so our total that we're expecting for 2026 is around $330,000 a month that we'll get each month. And then we also get what they call like a supplemental allotment called County Consolidated, which is around $650,000 a year, which kind of is roughly around 2 allotments is what they have on that. So that's where our revenue comes from. And then on the expense side, the salary totals increased around 15%, and then but since we were doing a large construction project, we increased or decreased the amount of maintenance work we do. So the maintenance our oil and chip work, how many miles we do of that each year, our salt and our signs and everything comes out, usually on the material side, comes out of the motor fuel tax side. So we didn't decrease any of that. We'll probably decrease the amount of oil and chip roads that we plan on doing for 2026, and do more construction work here in this what's planned for on that. So so yeah, you kind of see the breakout there of the maintenance, engineering, and the construction, basically, of what we use the motor fuel tax for, and kind of what we're looking at, moving forward. Or I guess this is our capital improvement plan, which is the next thing on the item. So I'll just stop there for the time being for those. So that basically covers all the 4 funds of the highway department. So I can answer any questions.
Are there any questions? I trust no one in this county more than I trust you. And I can tell you that the way that you keep up with the bridges, I never fear that we're going to have a crisis, right? I really appreciate the engineering brain that you have and the kind of careful attention to those details. It makes a big difference for the farmers. It also keeps a lot of good work in the community for our laborers. And so I'm a big fan of yours. Mr.
Thanks.
Seaver.
Yeah, it's also good. I mean, our staff does a great job, engineering staff and our maintenance staff. I mean, they're the ones that are actually out there doing a lot of the work, a lot of the culvert work and maintenance work. So, especially plowing snow and when it comes to that. So they're also the ones to thank on this.
Snow?
Yeah, right.
I'm not familiar.
I just got our salt price in for 2026, so it's a few dollars more, but it was crazy. It was like a 90-degree day last week, and I'm getting our salt per ton cost for next year.
When it hits, it'll hit.
Right.
Member Zibar.
Yeah, and not a question, just more of a comment. My first time going through this budget process. I'm not sure which is more complicated, the work you actually do or the budget process that you go through. So appreciate all the work.
Sure.
Any other questions or comments? Okay, all those in favor of the approval of the Highway Department's 0055 fiscal year budget, including the Highway Fund 0120, the Bridge Matching Fund 0121, the County Matching Fund 0122, and the Motor Fuel Tax Fund 0123. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? Okay, it passes unanimously. Now we'll move on to the final item, request approval of the 5-year capital improvement plan for the Highway Department. You may I get a motion to put this on the floor. Motion by Member Leffler, second by Member Duffy.
This is, we've got the 5-year plans in front of you with the map. It kind of shows what we're looking at to do. What we're actually looking to do here, and mainly in 2026, but as a lot of things, sometimes a lot of things change with funding and environmental and that type of thing, so a lot of this stuff can move around. But we're looking at 7 projects for $13 million here in 2026. And like I had mentioned earlier, our big project is the reconstruction of Hudson West, going from basically I-39 over to Ropp Road. It's an oil and ship road, very narrow, and it's just needs to be reconstructed. And so we're going to basically take it down to dirt and put new aggregate and new ditches and shoulders and everything in there. So that's kind of our big project. And then we have a few resurfacing projects, and you can kind of see the funding breakdown of the different funds. And like our federal project is going to be the Anchor Road next year, and that'll be upgrading that one to 80,000 pounds and moving forward with that. So then we got plans for the remaining years of different funds. 27, 28's around 9 million or so. And a lot of this can change if there's grants available. They're talking about more TARP funds coming out here this fall. So we'll probably apply for multiple projects on that type of funding. So, yeah, just got a fairly good list here, and we might, and some of these will get moved to different years and that type of thing as we move forward.
Anyone have any questions or comments about this plan? Member Reeves.
Jerry, if we look back at the last 5-year capital plan, and you've got, I don't know how you do it, projected total cost 5 years out, what was the actual versus the budgeted in those prior plans? Have you been able to navigate cost increases?
We'll probably actually, yeah, I mean, there's been a fair amount of cost increases. As you can see, as you get down towards like 2030, we only got like 4 to 5 projects in place there. But it depends on, sometimes the projects get moved, or we get additional funding. What helped us the last, I want to say 3 to 4 years, was the Rebuild Illinois funds. So that was $6 million additional dollars that we weren't really expecting. So that helped us do, reconstruct the Meadows Road and the Horse Farm Road and that type of stuff. We were really hoping for an additional $5 million out of the $400 million local program that IDOT did, but we didn't make the cut on that one. But if there's programs like that that become available, TARP funds help because they offset our costs. We've used TARP funds to use our 20% match on our federal projects instead of using out of our matching fund. So there's a lot of kind of moving parts depending on what we have available and what's coming in. I would say, typically we're doing about 6 to 7 projects a year, and that's pretty consistent for us. Even moving, even in the out years, we'll probably get to that point where we would have projects, or I might find a project that if we have some money, there might be a small project that we can do for a few $100,000 in that. So it just kind of depends. But as far as projecting the money out, I just kind of, it's kind of just put a percentage to it and then kind of project that out based on our, EAV growth and then our construction costs, knowing that those are going to grow and that type of thing. So.
Inflation is hard to predict. In the last couple of years, has been a little up and down, up and down, up and down. Any other questions? Member Duffy.
Yeah, so for the federal projects you have listed within the next 5 years, with the Route 66, we saw like a cut in federal funds, kind of blanket pull out from under us type thing. What are your plans kind of look like in the unlikely event that were to happen to a future project?
Yeah, so that would probably, so the federal funds go to the state and then the state distributes that. And so some of them are already in the works, but I guess in future years, if that funding were to get pulled, so we get about 1.3 million, 1.4 million right now out of that. So if that funding would to get pulled, then yeah, we'd probably be looking at starting to cut projects in future years. And so then it'd be relying on our local funds then at that point.
Any additional questions? Thank you for the color-coded map. Okay, all those in favor, please say aye. Aye. And let me just repeat, that was for the 5-year capital improvement plan for the record. Those opposed, say no. Okay, it passes unanimously. Thank you so much. Ms. Administrator Taylor, do you have anything else for us?
That is all that I have for today. Thank you for your attention. I will have a summary on the change to those grants that we just received notice on Friday.
Okay.
So I will have a summary for that for this committee. And we meet again on November 4th.
Does anyone else have any announcements, questions, issues? Okay, and with that, we are adjourned. Thank you so much.